Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Emergency crews have been called to a dangerous gas leak at Bothwell this afternoon. 2 pool chemicals were accidentally mixed together, causing the release of chlorine gas, which burned a worker.
Emergency crews swarming on Bothwell this afternoon, responding to reports of a hazardous materials incident. A worker at the pool mistakenly mixed sodium hypochlorite and hydrochloric acid, causing a dangerous chemical reaction.
The mixture of the acid and the hypochlorite together gives off a very dangerous gas, being chlorine gas, and that chlorine gas did affect the worker.
The worker was inside a shed at the time and received chemical burns to his face.
The patient is being checked out by Ambulance Tas, and they're quite confident, besides slight chemical burns to the face, he'll be okay.
No one else was injured, but taking precautions, ambulances were on standby. A 100-metre exclusion zone set up until the chlorine gas dissipated.
We open up the shed where the contamination happened and letting it ventilate at this stage, and we're just doing some air monitoring until the contamination slowly dissipates.
Emergency crews confirming the gas dissipated this afternoon, reopening the area. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanian growers in the fruit fly control zone have been dealt another blow with tighter restrictions. Growers within a 15-kilometre radius of Acacia Hills will now need to fumigate or meet cold sterilisation protocol before distributing produce to other parts of the state. The restrictions were advised by the Commonwealth Government, and the Tasmanian Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Wildlife and Environment will start the fumigation and cold sterilisation process next week. Both Labor and Liberal parties have agreed to offer a $2 million support package to affected growers.
We are going to destroy these little buggers. They are an absolute menace, and we are going to make sure that we maintain our market access internationally.
The increasing of the protocol requirements within the control area has certainly come as a shock to some of them. They're working through the situation as we speak, but as we've said, the growers are very resilient and they will try at every turn to find alternative markets for their produce.
1 adult fruit fly has been found at Sprayton and 5 have been caught in traps on Flinders Island. Additional support funding may be offered in the near future. The RSL state president says he's disappointed Anzac Day has been dragged into the political debate surrounding poker machines. The Glenorchy RSL says it would be forced to cancel commemorations under Labor's anti-pokies policy, but that's been shut down by the party.
This is the comment sparking fiery debate.
If the club closes its doors, of course Glenorchy won't have an Anzac parade and so forth, because that's we organise all that each year.
The Glenorchy RSL sub-branch president claiming that would be the scenario if pokies were forced to be removed under a Labor government.
Nobody is going to believe that, and they should stop scaring people.
John Chivers says that despite Labor's offer of compensation, his club couldn't remain viable without the machine's revenue. The state's RSL president disagrees, saying he and Mr Chivers are good friends, but he's disappointed the commemorative day has turned political.
The sacrifice that our young servicemen and women have made for this country, and now to have that politicised, linking it with poker machines, it could be considered as disrespectful as well.
Mr Rowe has written to all RSL sub-branches reminding them to remain apolitical, with the Premier agreeing it's a sensitive issue, using the debate to criticise his opposition.
They're telling people they shouldn't be able to play gaming machines wherever they choose. Now it appears they're telling people, including ex-servicemen, they're not able to express their views either.
It is a commemoration of those people who gave their lives to protect the freedoms that Australia enjoys, and it shouldn't be linked in any way to the gaming industry.
Mr Chivers wouldn't speak on camera today, but says he stands by his comments and is concerned the sub-branch won't be able to support other community organisations.
I just want to reassure people, and particularly the people of Glenorchy, that they will have an Anzac Day service, and it'll be a fitting and solemn one, as Glenorchy RSL has done in the past.
Pokies tipped to continue as a hot-button issue in the race to the state election. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The State Liberal Party is vowing to begin construction of a new Bridgewater Bridge if it's re-elected next month. It's pledged $46 million towards the first stage of construction as part of a statewide election roads package. But the federal government is still yet to provide any funding for the bridge.
Trying to sweeten the deal of building a Bridgewater Bridge. The Infrastructure Minister pledging $46 million over 5 years to start constructing this.
Tasmania's been waiting now for some 20 years for a replacement of that bridge. We're making a commitment that in the next term of a majority re-elected Hodgman government, we will commence construction of a new Bridgewater Bridge.
The project is expected to cost $570 million and take 6 years to construct. The Liberals expect their federal counterparts to fund 80% of the build, but the Commonwealth is so far yet to open its purse.
We have a very strong case with the federal government. We're confident of success.
Remember, the Liberal Party promised a 4-lane Midland highway before they were elected, and they haven't delivered that.
As part of its $177 million Southern Roads package, the Liberals are also committing to rebuild Richmond Road and create a Cambridge bypass. In the north, $80 million would be spent on roadworks near Perth and $4 million on roads in the northeast. The Bass Highway would also be significantly upgraded. 112 kilometres west of Wynyard would get a $40 million makeover, which would include road widening, new overtaking lanes and intersection improvements.
With a growing economy, you do need to upgrade and continually upgrade your road network.
As you can see here today, the amount of log trucks, the timber industry is growing, the agricultural side of things in Circular Head is just becoming bigger and bigger, and we badly need it for the safety.
The Labor Party has already announced a $60 million roads package, which also includes upgrading sections of the Bass Highway.
We've done that in consultation with the local councils and the RACT to identify those areas that need to be prioritised.
Monika Dadson, Southern Cross News.
With health still leading the Labor Party's pre-election agenda, $59,000 a year to Women's Health Tasmania was pledged today. The organisation supports women living with breast cancer.
So this announcement from Labor today will ensure that it can be provided in all 3 regions of the state for 3 years.
As most Tasmanians would recognise, you need to earn money as well as spend it. Labor are doing a good job at spending money. We'll continue to keep our budget under control.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Michael Ferguson says Wednesday's shock resignation of the Director of Surgery at the Launceston General Hospital was a personal decision. Mr Brian Kirby advised the Tasmania Health Service he was leaving his role effective that evening. It's understood Dr Kirby had a breakdown of negotiations with the THS. The latest figures confirm 2017 was a record-breaking year for Tasmania's real estate, with $3.8 billion worth of sales. But industry leaders aren't treating the boom as all good news, with a crunch on rentals and a severe shortage of housing stock.
More than 11,000 residential real estate sales boosted 2017 to a record-breaking year. A total of $3.8 billion worth of property changing hands.
$700 million more than last year, and well and truly ahead of previous years.
Median house prices were up 6.7% in Hobart, 8.9% in Launceston. The North West Coast is softer by 3.5%, but still has high turnover of sales.
In Hobart, whilst everything is really strong, unfortunately the market has been outgrown by demand, and we now have a real shortage of property both for rental and for sale.
Renters are feeling the pinch with vacancy rates severely low. Less than 1.5% of Hobart homes are available, 2.1% in Launceston and 3.2% in the northwest. Social services say it's the disadvantaged being left behind.
Those on lower incomes or government benefits don't look as appealing, if you like, to a landlord. And as a result, they're being looked over time after time after time.
For 2018, the growth looks set to continue and filter through the regions, with housing stock still in short supply. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Japanese anti-nuclear activists have docked in Hobart today, pressuring Australia to take a stance against nuclear weapons. More than 1,000 people are on board the self-proclaimed peace boat, telling their stories of the fallout from nuclear disasters.
The peace boat docking in Tasmania today, flying the flag for the campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. It's carrying 1,000 Japanese survivors of nuclear disasters, including Fukushima survivor Kenichi.
I was a dairy farmer and then I lost my job, and I used to be so proud of my work, but now I cannot continue that. So this is such a disaster for my family and the villages.
It was just 7 years ago when an earthquake triggered damage to the Fukushima nuclear power station, leaking radioactive material.
I'm hearing that kids are now having cancers, probably because of that, we believe, but the government wouldn't say.
As well as the safety of nuclear power, survivors are pressuring countries to sign a treaty banning nuclear weapons.
Once a nuclear weapon is used, then it is the end of everything. So before nuclear weapons end our lives, we need to end nuclear weapons. That's our message.
The human damage would be massive. There would be massive fires, there would be enormous power unleashed rapidly. The destructive damage and the explosive damage of nuclear weapons is unparalleled. They are the worst and the most powerful weapons the world has ever seen.
As the peace boat campaigns around the world, there are currently 9 countries still in possession of nuclear weapons, including the US, North Korea and China.
We are encouraging the country of Australia to sign and ratify. Now, unfortunately, currently the government of Australia has been opposed to this ban on nuclear weapons.
The peace boat spreading the message across Australian ports before heading to New Zealand. Rita Risk, Southern Cross News.
Festive Ally organisers say the number of food and drink stalls on offer at this year's event has risen by nearly 25%. Today, local producers were busy preparing for the 3-day event, which kicks off tonight. Along with presenting the state's best culinary treats, live entertainment will keep crowds enthralled.
Tonight we've got J.O. Rain and the Paradise 3, followed by Claire Baldrich on the main stage. And on the KPMG stage, we've got comedy acts, which will be somewhat interesting.
Organisers are expecting 25,000 people to head along to Festive Ally over the weekend. A national Aussie Rules Carnival for players with an intellectual disability will be held in Tasmania for the first time. Hundreds of players and coaches will come to the state for the tournament, which culminates in a curtain raiser ahead of the Hawthorn Gold Coast clash later this year.
Tasmania's inclusion team is one of the country's strongest, having reached the final of last year's Inclusion Carnival on the Gold Coast. Now the side will try to back up its performance in front of a home crowd.
A lot of our players haven't been able to play in front of their families and their supporters.
AFL Tasmania says locking in Launceston for this year's carnival is a coup. Tasmania's bid getting over the line thanks to the side's mix of southern and northern based players and the city's access to playing grounds.
We certainly know that there were bids from multiple states, including WA, South Australia, Victoria, who's hosted the carnival previously.
And I think sport is something that builds a community and it builds people, and that's what this will do and it'll continue to do.
The week-long tournament has 12 players per side. The final is scheduled to be a curtain raiser ahead of the Hawthorn Gold Coast game at UTAS Stadium. Hawthorn has put aside 300 tickets for those in the carnival.
We're absolutely 100% behind any endeavour to provide opportunities for everyone to take part in AFL.
The tournament runs from the 18th to the 23rd of June. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Millions of dollars worth of the latest camping technology, tents and caravans are on display at this weekend's Launceston Outdoor Adventure Show. Organisers say more young couples are looking to get off the beaten track with sales of budget caravans on the rise.
Originally it was the grey nomads, but now you get 35, 45-year-olds buying with their families.
And for those wanting to splash out, this model, known as the Swiss Army knife of caravans, is built by a company which also exports military vehicles around the world. It'll set you back nearly $70,000. Organisers are ramping up for local Chinese New Year celebrations. Today's launch is a taste of what's to come as Tasmania welcomes in the Year of the Dog.
It's a way of sort of sending a message out to our community saying, Mum, Dad, bring the kids and learn about our Chinese community culture. And it's absolutely fascinating. We have a very strong multicultural community here in Tasmania, but the Chinese are one of the first communities to arrive.
Celebrations kick off on Parliament lawns on February 18. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has made solid gains after a surge in energy stocks and improvements for the big banks turned around a mixed overnight lead out of the US. The ASX 200 index has risen by 31.3 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 80.04 US cents and 56.12 British pence.
The Hobart Hurricanes have silenced the Scorchers, advancing to the Big Bash final with a 71-run win last night. Matthew Wade and Ben McDermott smashed 7 sixes between them. The Purple Haze is now waiting on the result of tonight's other semi-final between the Adelaide Strikers and Melbourne Renegades. Perth's new $1.6 billion stadium was meant to be a Western fortress, but Matthew Wade turned it into scorched earth from the very first ball.
Perfect start for the Hurricanes.
The underdog tag quickly washed away. Wade clearly saved his best Big Bash till last, bringing up his 50 off 31 balls and then smashing a 6 for good measure.
Wade there, he goes big to the leg side, man running around, he won't get there.
His efforts had the home side in trouble before Ben McDermott put Perth to bed.
Oh, what a great shot that is from McDermott.
Barely a whisper from the crowd, just the sound of cracking willow.
Just about the first time. McDermott, mid-wicket, way back.
McDermott's tally, 7 sixes, including one to bring up his half-century.
This is just bang, straight over long on, another 6.
He finished with an unbeaten 67 off just 30 balls. Perth's biggest highlight came from the crowd.
And he enjoyed the catch, he's caught the fish, reeled it in.
Mitch Marsh just sank. Out for 3 off Dan Christian, and that's after getting smacked for 53 runs with the ball. Wickets kept falling in the Hurricanes' onslaught as the Scorchers threw their finals hopes away.
Oh! That's gone as far as the pill.
Dan Christian had a heavenly run.
Edge, Payne takes the catch, Christian gets the breakthrough, and the 8th wicket falls.
Finishing with figures of 4 for 17 and a Big Bash final in the bag. The team travelled to Adelaide today to see whether they'd face the Strikers or the Renegades in Sunday's final. A sense of relief in the side.
A lot of nerves obviously building up to the game. Didn't get much sleep the night before, but on the day it was all right. Just got into a bit of rhythm, my warm-up and my build-up, and I was okay. But then as soon as I ran out, I was a lot of butterflies in the belly, but I was okay as soon as I started going.
The Bernini Dockers are holding urgent talks as we go to air tonight over the club's future in the TSL. The side announced on Wednesday it may pull out of the top-tier competition due to a lack of players. The club's president says he will push for the Dockers to continue in the TSL if he has the backing of the playing group.
We'll be very transparent, and we want the people in attendance, and particularly the players, to actually be transparent with us.
Steve Dowling says the extra travel time is weighing on the minds of players after the region's only other team, Devonport, withdrew at the end of last season. One of the state's top netballers says an elite training camp this weekend will raise the bar for local players. Corona Flame star Caitlin Petrie will join the Tasmanian Magpies in Melbourne for the 3-day camp ahead of the next Australian Netball League season. Nearly a dozen other Tasmanians will train alongside their Victorian counterparts.
Once you go over, if you're slacking off, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's definitely going to raise the bar for us, and hopefully we can bring it back down here and raise the level down here.
And it will be really good to see all our girls out on court and gain a little bit more of an idea of where we're headed going forward.
The Tasmanian Magpies begin its 2018 campaign in May against the Western Sting. And the World Series Sprint Cars is about to rev into action at the Latrobe Speedway. Drivers and crews spent today preparing, with tonight's round to begin at 7 o'clock.
Tonight the crowd can expect some high-powered racing. The racetrack's very wide, very fast, so I'm looking forward to some high-quality racing.
Probably expect the best racing they've ever seen in Tasmania for over 10 years. So we've got cars that have come from every state of Australia, and we've got the top drivers in James McFadden, Jamie Veal.
More than 30 cars are competing. Another World Series round will also be held at Latrobe Speedway tomorrow night, starting at 6 o'clock.
Good evening, no guessing where I am. I'm settling in for a relaxing weekend in Launceston City Park for another edition of Festive Ally. I'm going to be enjoying some wonderful Tasmanian wine, food and also some wonderful entertainment over 3 days. Something does smell nice. I can see some gravel acts there. Meg, what else have you got here?
We have mushroom arancini balls, we have a lovely piggy box and lots of other goodies on offer today.
The piggy box, you've named it after me. Well done, Meg. Lots of things to see and do here at Festive Ally. We'll look forward to some of that food later. Hobart today had 20 degrees, Launceston 26, Burnie and Devonport a top of 22. Friendly Beaches, Bushy Park 23, Low Head, St Helens, Grove and Flinders Island all 21 today, Wynyard and Strawn 22 and Lyawini a top of 17 degrees. Let's look at the map, and the large high over the Bight has low cloud there. More cloud extends from Western Australia through to southern Queensland. There's the close-up. Most of the state found some cloud today. Parts of the west coast remain clear. Tomorrow, they have that high, that's gliding a bit closer to Tasmania. The monsoon trough is over the Coral Sea with cloud across the north. Southwest to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots, variable in the north, swells below 2 metres. Nothing to warn you about. Hobart, some cloud tomorrow and 23 degrees. Medina 26 and Oatlands 24. Partly cloudy and 26 in Launceston. Devonport 23 and Lyawini 22. Burnie tomorrow, a shower clearing and 23 degrees, fine in Strawn and Marrawar, both 23 degrees. Some cloud over the east, St Helens and Orford 22 and Swansea 21. The UV very high for all regions. On Sunday, maybe a shower over the east, fine and partly cloudy elsewhere. What else have we got? Morning shower on Monday over the northeast, okay for the rest of the state, and on Tuesday another morning shower over the northwest this time. Sunny weather for Perth tomorrow along with Adelaide and Melbourne, showers forecast for Canberra, Sydney and Brisbane. And right now you can see the current temperatures, things cooling down, but it's still a nice summery evening, and on a summery evening there's nothing better to drink than a beautiful Piper's Brook Sparkling, obviously made in the traditional method. I can tell because of the richness of it, because it does have a little bit of a bright nose of lemons and also white flour, the richness of brioche, oyster shell and also a shortbread, and oh, it's just superb. I'll see you later, Joe.
Don't be fooled, folks. He has no idea what he's talking about. That's all from the news team for now. Thanks so much for your company. We will see you throughout the evening. Bye-bye.
Another dot.
And you can see that bounce. George Barley's faced 4 deliveries and they've all hit high on the bat, the splice of the bat. And that's the challenge for the... Meadoff came up. He's going to have to go and fetch it. Oh, what a great shot that is from McDermott.